the cocoa game. Congratulations, Doc.
On a cocoa farming or game?
Both.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, when the producer price of cocoa was announced for the 2016-2017 crop season, a bag of cocoa was to be sold at 475 Ghana cedis. When the price was announced, the honorable nominee said that at that price, the government was cheating cocoa farmers, and that government was supposed to buy a bag of cocoa at 600 Ghana cedis. I want to find out from the honorable nominee now that in October, when the announcement was made, we were to purchase cocoa at 600. In January, today, when should cocoa farmers expect the 600? And then by what calculations did it arrive at the 600 per bag? Thank you.
To answer that question, I'll need a blackboard here to work out my calculations to demonstrate to him. It's very obvious. If you look at the price at which Ghana sells its cocoa on the world market, the premium that we get for our cocoa, and you convert it into cedis. What this government has been doing is to say that they are targeting 70% of the price. The previous government, sorry, 70% of the price, and then there's a difference between gross proceeds, that is the 2 billion which arrives in this country in August, September, changed at the official rate. The cedis which come in.
Chairman, I'm compelled to come in. 2 billion of what? And for each specific year, the numbers are not the same. We've had instances where it's less than 2 billion. So if you can speak with clarity on that, that would be useful.
Well, the clarity is obvious to me, Mr. Chairman. The fact of the matter is that this year, the Cocoa Board came to the Parliament, that's the past Parliament, asking for $2 billion for a syndicated loan of the international companies. The same happened in 2014, 2015. They came to us with the same. I remember these figures very well because I'm a member of the Committee on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs, together with the Finance Committee. So we shouldn't quibble about it. The fact of the matter is that they came here for 2 billion. And ultimately, the 2 billion came in two tranches, 1.8 billion, and then last year, December, or was it November, before we rose, they came back for the other 2 billion, 200 million. So I'm just using figures to illustrate the point. 25% of the gross proceeds were set aside for cocoa, rose, fungicides, and so on. And then the 75% is what, between the farmers, the traders, and scholarships and so on, that is what they use to do the calculation. That's 75%, and not 100% of the gross proceeds, so only 75%. And this is where they were getting the 475 per bag. And we were saying that if you use the actual figure of the gross proceeds, then the farmer should be getting 600. And in fact, you know, I'm a member of the transition team in charge of agriculture. The figures which have come to us, I don't want to jump the gun here, but it's confirming exactly what we were saying, that they should have used the gross proceeds, not the net proceeds.
Chairman, may I indulge you? Will the farmer get 600 upon the favor of Parliament, will the cocoa farmer expect that when you assume office for 2017 and beyond, computation of prices will be based on the statistics you just shared with us? And therefore, this year, they should expect an upward revision of it to 600 Ghana cedis.
Mr. Chairman, those proceeds came during the time of the last government. It's not with us. We don't have control over it. It's already, most of it has been spent. So if you say that I should say that it's 600 now, the cat is already out of the bag. So how am I going to do it? You have to wait until the next syndication in July this year for me to be able to answer that question. But until then, the cat is out of the bag. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the cat is not out of the bag. because, Mr. Chairman, we have not ended the main crop season yet. We are still in the main crop season. And so, can you tell Ghanaian cocoa farmers that in October, you expected the outgoing government to buy a bag of cocoa, 600 Ghana cedis. Now, you are in the seat. When are you going to announce to cocoa farmers that you will purchase a bag of cocoa at 600?
We may be able to do it for more than 600, if anything. But why I'm laughing is simple. He knows that the bulk of the crop for 2016, 2017 has already been bought. That's a fact. No, it matters. We are talking about quantities and the application of prices to those quantities. So how do you, when the bulk of the crop has left the farm gate, you expect me to go and promise them that I'm going to buy 600? Where will the crop be? So, Mr. Chairman, I don't think this is a fair question at all. It's not a fair question because most of that crop is already left the farm gate.
You already answered the question, so just proceed to ask another question.
Mr. Chairman, my friend said that the 2016-2017 cocoa season, the producer price was announced based on net FOB. In 2001-2002, producer price was announced based on net FOB, and it was 67%. 2002-2003 was announced based on net FOB at 68%. 2003-2004, producer price was announced based on net FOB at 69%. Can the nominee tell this committee at what stage in MPP under President Kufuor, when a producer price was announced based on gross FOB?
Comparing apples to oranges. You know why? Because if you go back to the financials, you will see that between the gross and the net proceeds, it was barely 10%. In their time, that difference has climbed to 25%. That's the whole point that I'm making to him. He's missing the point. He doesn't even see it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before I go to my last question, no, please. Chairman, please.
Honorable,
please,
the ruling
please.
is that it's your last question. Please go on.
We have never used gross to take cocoa.
This.
We always use net FOB.
Mr. Chairman, at the moment, when you get your tender, you move to cocoyam. You go to cocoyam. Mr. Chairman, the honorable nominee has just told us, and if you look at his background, he has dealt in with a coffee farming. And I'm aware that he bought some coffee farms from the Divestiture Implementation Committee before.
Yeah.
I want to find out the state of coffee farming in this country and whether his farms are yielding to expectation and whether we are making headway in coffee farming in Ghana today.
The honorable member for Bodi is mixing personal things with public policy. And I don't think it is right to do that at all.
Honorable member, do you know the state of coffee farming? And can you give any information regarding the state of coffee farming here?
Definitely, I will do that anytime. And Mr. Chairman, I think that to that, I would say that coffee has as much potential as any other country in the world. I'm talking about Ghana. When I came to Parliament, I managed to persuade the Minister of Finance to set aside 4 million Ghana cedis for a pilot scheme to develop coffee in this country. Interestingly enough, the person who led that charge is here as a member of Parliament, Honorable Kwetu. At the time, he used to work for Ghana Cocoa Board. This was a 4-year program, a pilot scheme. That pilot scheme was so successful that at the end of the 4 years, my committee recommended to government that they should provide a seed fund of 50 million Ghana cedis, a seed fund of 50 million to get into the main project. As we sit here now, that was the end of the coffee project. And it was showing so much promise, especially in Volta region, in Brongahafo region, and parts of Ashanti, Fijasi, and other places. And as I speak to you now, these farmers who participated in this pilot have been greatly disappointed. And the lesson we can get from the pilot is that Ghana, yes, indeed, we have a great potential, and if we put resources into coffee development, we could diversify our agricultural economy, which is a policy which every government in Gaggisberg in the 1920s has adopted and has never been realized. Thank you.
Chairman, you spoke to a minister for agriculture. Who was that minister and what time? Because there have been several ministers for agriculture on your 4 million request.
It was to my friend Setepe, to the Minister of Finance.
Hard currency to import foodstuffs, to the extent that if you look at the figures, by your own research and what you have put out, instead of going down, as far as the figures are concerned, we've more than tripled what we spent to import basic food items. Now, can you give us the state of it, and how do you think that we can address this situation?
We couldn't find the statistic anywhere. I had to spend 2 years with my assistants going to the statistical services to compile the information, which I published in the Ghanaian, the Daily Graphic, and other newspapers. The conclusion was that in 2003, 8 food items, including meat, fish, rice, sugar, salt, wheat, 2 vegetables, and another, which are produced, except wheat, produced in this country. In 2003, we spent $345 million to import them into this country. Now, 2015, which has the last complete data, this figure of 350 million had climbed to over 2.1 billion. 2.1 billion in 2015. And all the figures, all these food stuffs, food items were actually going up. There was none of it which was coming down at any time within that period. They were all going up. And Mr. Chairman, the frightening thing about that was that when you did the compilation for the volumes were equally bad, from hundreds of thousands to 500, half a billion metric tons of this item and that item. And in other words, you could see that we're flooding our farm landscape with imports competing directly with our farmers. So that is something that was hidden because you couldn't find the trends, the statistics anywhere else. And this is why I published this information in the most popular newspaper in this country.
Chairman, Honorable Obiamo, let me come in with a follow-up. You have stated the problem, and the problem is an increase in food import.
Mr. Chairman, please, I haven't finished this question. The question he asked was, what are the trends and what are we going to do about it? So let me finish, please.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now, to stop this rot, we need to do two things. That's why I keep talking about productivity. We need to raise the productivity of our basic foodstuffs, including rice, sorghum, maize, soya, and the rest. And to do that, we have a plan, which I unveiled. That's when I say we. The government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has a plan, which was unveiled last week, Monday, at the University of Ghana New Year School. And I have a copy here, Mr. Chairman, of that plan. And anybody who is interested, you are going to hear a lot about this plan. It's called Planting for Food and Jobs. It's a campaign, actually. This time we are not doing a political campaign, but it's a civic campaign to involve everybody, including members of parliament, to go out to their constituency and plant something. To get institutions like the private sector, the breweries, to invest in plantations for their sorghum, to get Nestle to go and to invest in a plantation to do maize for their own good, to get prisoners to produce food for themselves, to get universities to do the same, to get colleges to do the same. So everybody, those in the urban areas, will be encouraged to even do in their backyards to plant vegetables. And we have all the arrangements to ensure that this takes place. The plan that we have, the spearhead is the planting for food and jobs, which will involve all the 216 districts. We've done the calculations. There are 5 pillars. It's going to create 750,000 jobs in this coming season. We are talking about April, May, the coming season, the next 3 months, to put this plan in place. It's going to create that kind of the 750 as a target on farm, not even off farm. The creation of the job ex-farm trading, the value chain is not even included. And then it's going to add 1.3, 1.4 billion Ghana cedis to the rural economy amongst the initial participants. So we are very, very serious, and we are going to carry this out, and that is going to generate a lot of jobs, and it's going to create, raise rural incomes in the first year. The second year, we're going to double that effort. By the third year, it will involve all farmers in this country, and all members of parliament, I hope, will be farming in their backyards and in their villages to let this program succeed. Thank you.
I have a follow-up on that. How do you intend to get the MPs to go and farm? What do you hope to be able to provide us, to be able to sit in Accra and still have a farm at Bekwai properly managed and taken care of?
Mr. Chairman, you go to Ivory Coast, they do it. During Ofebonye's time, every minister of state had to have a farm. And if you go to Cote d'Ivoire today, civil servants are in Abidjan, but they are running 200-acre coffee, cocoa, whatever farms. So you go to Kenya, they do it. There are people in Nairobi, they go to Nakuru and so on. So the Doubting Thomas says, I want to prove you wrong, and I'm going to come before you, all parliamentarians, to appeal to you. We'll give you certain incentives for you to be able to do that.
It is the incentives part that we want to hear. Chairman, please continue.
Chairman, before the Honorable Obiamwa, the nominee indicated strongly back that with his plan he shared with the president at the New Year school, he said two issues: raising productivity. You were not forthcoming with the second issue. We are interested. You said there were two things you were recommending. One, you said raising productivity. We'd like to hear the second major intervention.
The second major intervention is the agro-processing for the value chain. We haven't come to that. But for me, if you look, the same as cocoa, you know, if you look at the yields that we are getting in Ghana for maize, it's ridiculous. Because we are getting 2 bags of 50-kilogram bags on average, when we can be getting 15, 16 bags. And you only have to read some of these scientific papers from CSIR and the university researchers to find that we are just wasting time. But then at the same time, in spite of the low technological content of our agriculture, we are self-sufficient in maize, and that's a surprising thing. We produce just below 2 million metric tons of maize, most of which are kept on the farms for their use. About 500,000 metric tons come out of the farms onto the markets. So you can imagine if only 11% are adopting high technology. You can imagine if half of Ghanaian maize farmers are applying improved seed. We'll be feeding the whole of West Africa. So there's a lot of attraction for us to go along this path. And we are determined as a government to demonstrate this to the world, that yes, Ghana can actually supply food to the rest of West Africa, especially the Sahelian region, and also feed our poultry and our cattle and so on with better food for them to fatten up for protein consumption in this country. Thank you. If you remember, at the tail end of the last parliament, the government came here with a proposal. I think it was a $100 million loan to set up AMSECs, 200 AMSEC, with the first 50 for which they were getting the loan. I don't remember whether that was passed or it was overtaken by time. It wasn't passed.
It's part of the matters which has been referred to at the transition for your consideration and possible consideration.
Yes, it's come before us, and we are recommending to government that we should go ahead with that, except that there are certain conditions in the agreement that we feel we have to renegotiate. Otherwise, it's a fine idea. It's a fine idea because in the 8 years of the NDC administration, when they took over in 2009, there were, I think, 270 odd AMSECs, that's the mechanization centers. And every year, the first 3 years of their budget, they were going to increase that by 34, by 14, by 50, by whatever. But they were never able to increase it. In fact, the numbers actually went down because of the machinery were breaking down, no spare parts, and all those things. So this is why I personally supported this loan for the mechanization centers, so that at least they could replace them with more AMSECs. They were targeting all the districts, all the 216 districts that they have, and so 2008 we had 70 AMSECs, and by 2016 it had gone out to 89. But then the 89, most of the 70 had broken down, so they were not effective. I mean, the tractors and so on, no spare parts and so on. So only 89, and this government, this proposal, which came before the last parliament, was to increase it to 216 with a pilot for 50 more. So we are in support of that, as I said, and we'll just have to renegotiate certain parts of the agreement, and I think that it will enhance the mechanization of agriculture in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you. In fact, I have a copy of the memo to Parliament here, and it's supposed to be a BOT for 50 farmers service centers in the first phase, an additional 200 countrywide, and the initial amount is $83,985,000 US. It was submitted to Parliament November 2016 by the then Minister for Agri. Now to my final question, Mr. Chairman. Still on the manifesto, page 19 of our highlights, we have stated that we will support selected products beyond the farm gate to incorporate post-harvest activities, including storage, transportation, processing, packaging, marketing, and distribution, by providing incentives to the private sector and district assemblies to invest in post-harvest activities, including the building of pack houses and storage facilities, both on farms and in locations close to production centers. Are we still sticking to this, and what can you tell us initially about such a project?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The fact of the matter is that we have these plans in place. That's the essence of us choosing these grains for the planting for food and jobs as our initial pilot. That we increase, there are 5 pillars. One is to provide improved seeds, then fertilizers, then extension services for the project, specifically hiring unemployed graduates from the 5 agricultural colleges who are on the unemployment heap. And then 4, to expand the activities of the Grains Development Board to include the original articles in the Act 1970, Act 324, which gave the power, the role to the Grains Development Board, not only to provide the foundation seeds for multiplication by the private sector, but also to provide extension services and provide marketing services. So,
2 things. The fact that you are Chief Executive Officer, Plantation Resources Limited, Ghana, and Goldcrest Commodities Limited, and also because in the State of the Nation address of President John Dramani Mahama in February, he talked about government's resolve to invest in coffee plantation and mentioned that about 4 million seedlings had or were undergoing nesting or were being nested for distribution. Now, do you know if Cocoa Board used to have a coffee plantation? And if you do, what do you know happened to it?
Mr. Chairman, Cocoa Board didn't have a plantation. They had 45 coffee plantations under the Champon regime, and another 55 cocoa plantations. They ended up losing so much money. The company, Ghana Cocoa Board Plantations Limited, went into liquidation, and their assets passed on to the Divestiture Implementation Committee. And quite a few of us bought some of these properties from the Divestiture Implementation Committee. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I'm proud to say that Plantation Resources is the only company which has been able to sustain the activities up till today. All of them collapsed because you couldn't get funding from Agricultural Development Bank, Commercial Bank, any bank. We were lucky to attract the attention of International Finance Corporation. And on the point of they disbursing finance to us, somebody decided to write to IFC to stop us from accessing that loan. And that actually weakened us, and we've never been able to recover properly because there's no long-term financing. To do plantations, you need long-term financing. As I speak to you now, there's no one single organization which is prepared to let you borrow over 6 years or 10 years. Everything is very short term. So in spite of all this, we are struggling to sustain ourselves. So that is what happened. It is not one plantation. We are talking about lots of plantations and lots of money. Hundreds of millions by today's equivalent went down the drain in 4 or 5 years, very quickly. So it really shows you that government cannot be a good producer for that matter.
All right. So how much did you pay for the DIC farm?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think I'm prepared to divulge the confidentiality of any company, never mind a company that I've been associated. It would be most unethical of anybody's part to even be asking such a question. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I don't remember. I admitted the question. It's okay for you to say that it is, you will not disclose, but certainly I admitted the question. The ethics part, I urge you to withdraw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I withdraw.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, also, hold your cool. Chairman, this is a meeting of the Appointments Committee of Parliament, which is considering the nominee for public office. And he acquired a property. And the property, if it was acquired from another private person, there will be no difficulty. But once it's government on divestiture, it will be useful if he has the information that he shares. If he doesn't have, he can say so. But I think it's important that we know.
Honourable member, ranking member, the company that acquired the company is a different entity, and that company is not on the seat. So please ask questions relating to them. The company.
So hold your cool.
Please.
After Chairman, I'll come in. Which company? Which company? No, but let's not make this
Honourable
difficult, Chairman.
Yes.
It's a simple question. If he has it, he shares. If he doesn't, he says so.
Sorry, please. The question was, he was MD of Resources, is that right? Right. CEO of, is he still CEO?
No.
So I think it's unfair to ask him the question relating to that one. Please ask another question.
So how many questions, Mr. Chairman? So, Mr. Chairman, I have 2 more questions. Thank you. Right. No, that was withdrawn. Because the chairman overruled it. You didn't answer it. All right. So to my next question. Honorable nominee, Mr. Chairman, with your indulgence, I want to share some comparative figures and ask if the nominee has a disagreement. The figures relate to cocoa production. In 2003-2004, the production was 735,266 tons. Now it decreased in 2004-2005 to 599,318. It then increased in 2005-2006 to 740,383. Then in 2006-2007, it decreased again to 614,533. 4 more. In 2010, it was 1,024,533. In 2011-2012, it decreased to 879,343. 2013-2014, it increased to 896,220.
Sorry, I think you missed one. You jumped 1 year.
Yes.
2012, 2013. You
Yes.
didn't mention that. What is it?
2012, 2013. Yes, it decreased. I'm asking the question, and I'm saying comparative.
Please, Honorable Obini, don't argue. Let him finish.
No, I didn't mention that year zone because I said I'm doing a comparative analysis. I'm doing comparative analysis.
Can you please ask the question, please?
Yes, I would like to draw the honorable nominee's attention to the fact that I didn't mention 2007, 2008. I didn't mention 2008, 2009. So it is okay when I skip, because I skipped 2007, 2008. So you should take note of that. And I skipped in this particular access. So I'm talking about the increases. I'm sure you have taken note. Now, based on this undulating production figures over the years, can the nominee explain the declining production that he has constantly referred to here in this committee and elsewhere?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can only explain if the other figures that he's jumped are included. Otherwise, it's a very distorted trend.
Honorable Member, I have not admitted the question. In your answer, you can refer to what has been jumped, if it will make it easier for you, please.
To really get the trend as he's asking, I need the full information. It cannot be selective. Mr. Chairman, with all due respect to you, he cannot be selective in just jumping up and down with the figures.
Honorable Obini, do you have that information he has jumped?
I'm asking him for it.
Right. So you're suggesting that unless all that information is provided, you cannot. So let that be your answer.
Yeah.
So he can provide you the information.
I've said it, and I'll repeat, Mr. Chairman, that unless I get the full information, I cannot answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, since he wants the figures, I can provide the figures. And
Chairman, Honorable Sohine.
Yes. Let him. He understands. Let him repeat it.
No, who understands, Chairman?
He has announced that he will repeat.
But why are you reading what is in my mind? How do you know what I'm coming to say? I just asked for an opportunity. So why are you determining?
You took it.
I did. Sohine.
all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The point I simply sought to make here is the fact that cocoa production over the years has been very undulating. It declines, it increases, it declines, it increases. So it's unfair, or it's not correct, let me put it that way, to say that we have had some constant decline in some, without really pointing to the period. And that's what I just wanted to draw the nominee's attention to. Thank you.
Honorable, is that intended as a question? So ask your last question.
All right. Now, honorable nominee, in the third quarter of 2016, 46 new FDI, that's foreign direct investment, was recorded by the GIPC, valued at about $241.17 million US. Now, none of this was in the area of agriculture. You've talked extensively about how your government intends to expand agriculture and attract investment. We know that some of the things that have resulted in perhaps what you have referred to as de-investment is either lack of funds or government's priority, which as minister may not be in your control adequately. What are you going to do in terms of attracting foreign direct investment in the area of agriculture?
Mr. Chairman, I'm glad that Honorable Sohine is admitting to the fact that there hasn't been much foreign investment in agriculture. But it's not surprising. If public resources in terms of infrastructure and others to support the sector is not there, how do you expect foreigners to come and put their money in that sector? They will never do that. So it is important that we prioritize. And the government of President Akufo-Addo is determined to make agriculture a priority sector in terms of public investment. Already, we are attracting the world's attention. Last week, a group came from South Africa. I sent them out to the field, to our farm plains, to Kintampo and other places, and they came back very, very excited, based on the assurances that I gave that this government is going to support the sector with infrastructure, roads, and so on, and all that. And they are coming back with a boatload full of cattle, young cattle, and sheep and goat. In the next few weeks, you'll be hearing about this. Not only that, people have come from America. They are very interested to invest based on what they've heard that we are doing, that we are determined to do. And of course, all the resources that are required in terms of the last 8 years, when the government of the NDC took over, nearly 4% of total allocation of budget was going to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture for agricultural development. That figure has steadily declined to 1.1% in 2014 and 2015. So when I say disinvestment, this is precisely what I'm talking about. And it's not only budgetary resources. You look at petroleum, the ABFA, it's funny. I mean, if rhetoric, oh, we support agriculture, we are supporting farmers, you get a new source of revenue from petroleum. Instead of putting the bulk of that money to support farmers who are the majority of workers in this country, pittance is given to it. And these are statistics that we find in parliamentary deliberations. I mean, you don't have to go very far. Mr. Sweeney, you just have to visit the Library of Parliament to find out this information tomorrow morning. All right. So in short, the question that you asked, can I sum up, Mr. Sweeney, please? I'm asking.
Honorable nominee, please address the chair.
Mr. Chairman. So in short, what I'm saying is that unlike the previous administration, this administration is determined to prioritize agriculture in terms of public allocation of public resources to attract the right investment, not only foreign, but also local. Thank you.
Honorable Jato.
Thank you very much. Congratulations,
You lost
Honorable Akoto.
to the end of the list.
The youth are not interested in agric any longer. They are looking for white-collar jobs. What measures are you putting in place to make sure that agric becomes very attractive to the youth?
Thank you. The youth are not attracted into agriculture because they see their parents in total penury, struggling to pay their fees, to pay their mothers' hospital for their mothers and their siblings and so on. So how do you expect them after school to go into agriculture? I was attracted to agriculture because my father was a big-time cocoa farmer on the border of Cote d'Ivoire. And a Kumasi boy at Christmas being taken on a bus with the rest of my siblings to go and spend a few days and seeing all these cocoa trees and me running under them and so on. Right there, I decided that I'm going to spend the rest of my life in agriculture. And that's what I've done academically, professionally, career-wise, and everything. So you need to, it was attractive then. because cocoa built most of Ashanti New Town where I was born. The whole is Ashanti New Town. It's a brand new town built on cocoa revenues. Because my father and his friends were able to invest and get a high return on that investment. And that's how I came into agriculture. See, so we need to make agriculture attractive so that the young ones can see that there's an opportunity for them. Until that happens, the kids will run away from the farms. Thank you.
The second one has to do with our mango fly issues. Because of that, I think the EU is trying to ban mango importation into Ghana mangoes into the EU market. What measures are you putting in place to make sure that at least this issue of fruit fly is actually kept?
Mr. Chairman, I'm surprised about this fruit fly business because I know that it is a problem and it's being tackled by the Ministry of Agriculture the last 2-3 years, and they seem to be succeeding. I don't know about banning of mangoes into the EU market because of fruit flies. I'm not aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The last one has to do with irrigation. I think our irrigation services are not actually up and doing. Now that we're going to get one village, one dam, how are you going to translate it into farming? Thank you.
It's a good question, Mr. Chairman. And the fact of the matter is that we have already been, we are already talking to companies in America and Brazil to supply small irrigation, long span systems, which could cover an aggregate of 50 hectares of small farms. And to start this program along the banks of the rivers, Volta, Black Volta, and so on, as an initiative for the one village, one dam thing. So, and already there are machinery here in Ghana for the Ministry of Local Government, which can be used for those areas that require boreholes and so on. And I've spoken to my colleague, Haja Alima, and he's prepared to collaborate with us in providing the services to villages which don't lie beside river banks or don't have the topography to do dugouts and so on. So it's something that we definitely is in the manifesto. Mr. Speaker, the fact of the matter is that we promised the youth of this country jobs on our platform during the campaign. And they believed us, and they voted massively for us. So it's up to us to deliver, and we are determined to deliver. So it's not just mere talk.